following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the iRacing Esports Network tonight, proudly presented by V8s Online. My name is Zachary Hanlon. In the booth tonight, joining me is Corey Ott, and we have Jay Kennedy switching the buttons on the TV screens for you. Tonight, we join you from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the beautiful hills of Stavelot in Belgium, where we're going to have 32 beautiful V8 supercars roaring around this track tonight for 28 laps, or around 296 kilometers this evening. We have a very tight championship battle at the moment. And Corey, if we look at the championship standings with 4 drop rounds removed from each driver, we can see that the tables at the moment are very tight.
Yeah, exactly. Good afternoon, ladies. Good evening, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the championship is very close. Sam Blacklock, Brett Loxton, Forza Anabi, and Wayne Burke are your top 4 contenders, separated by just 93 points going into this round with the drop rounds included. It's a very, very close championship, and tonight's SOF is only 2,900, meaning that not a lot of championship points are on offer. So if you really want to have a drop round, it could be this round if you really want, but the track temp at the moment is 34 degrees, so we could see, you know, a championship table turnover, but not as likely tonight.
Yeah, for sure. We do have quite a few of our contenders in the race tonight. However, I have just noticed that we are missing a few as well. Got some strong drivers in the field nonetheless. Emily Jones returning, as well as Brian Borg, Ryan O'Sullivan from Evolution Racing Team, who's popped his head in a few times throughout the season and had some really strong performances as well. So there's a lot of good drivers out here tonight, and they're going to be putting a good show on for us. At the moment, though, your championship leader has just shot to the top of the timing screen, Sam Blacklock, with a 2-minute 22.1. And Corey, we're going to be having a very long race tonight. We have 28 laps here around Spa, and at 2-minute 20 seconds per lap, that could take us to around the hour and 10 minute limit this evening.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a mini endurance race for some of these drivers tonight. 28 laps. It's 7-kilometer track. The fuel burns around about 5.5 laps, 5.5 liters a lap. Sorry, so it's a definite two-stopper. So we could see tire strategy, we could see fuel strategy in the mix, but hour and 10 minutes is going to be a long haul for some of these drivers tonight.
Yeah, that's right. But we are expecting 2 pit stops this evening. We'll probably be expecting those, give or take a few laps, around 9-lap stints, I would imagine. So it will be very interesting to see who decides to come in early, get that undercut, or who decides to prefer to maybe run their fuel stint out a little longer. But we're just having a look at the guys through qualifying now, and it is Sam Blacklock still, who has a very healthy margin of 0.7 of a second over Brett Loxton. And I would imagine that most of these cars are not going to be able to improve on their second lap unless they made a relatively dramatic mistake. So I'm sure a lot of people will know the Spa-Francorchamps can definitely take a lot of that good bite out of your tires well within one lap. Even towards the end of your first lap, you can kind of start losing a little bit of that grip as you come into the bus stop chicane. But a lot of these drivers looking very focused tonight, everyone holding some nice lines down there, and at the moment the entire field is pretty much covered by about 2.5 seconds, which would normally be a little wider margin that we would expect, but given that the track is so long here at Spa, you can kind of put a couple of extra seconds in there for margin.
Exactly, and also with the lap being so long tonight, a lot of guys are only doing one lap. Sam Blacklock is, I think, a prime example where one lap is a good lap, but some drivers are on their second laps. Ryan O'Sullivan's actually a good example. I do believe he off-tracked lap 1, and he just off-tracked his second lap, so it won't count, but he won't make it to the end of the lap anyways. We have 12 seconds left on the clock, but it's a long track. You know, they're actually very lucky tonight that the track temp's only 34 degrees. If it was 40 plus, you know, we could see a possibility of a 3-stop for tyre strategy, but it's Spa, it's a long track, and now we should get the grid going up here, so we'll get the grid up here right now.
Absolutely, and taking you out of pole position this evening, Sam Blacklock, our championship leader, starting off from a strong position this evening. He's joined on the front row by Jordan Ross, who just popped himself up in the last few seconds of that qualifying session. Brett Loxton will follow up in third, with Riley Blythe alongside him in fourth position. Good qualifying there from Riley. Ross Rizzo will start out of fifth position, with Josh Muggleton lining up next to him in sixth. Jason Bentz out of seventh position, with Kyle Stokes in eighth. Steve Jansen will come out of ninth position, and Jamie McKnight will round out your top 10.
And starting from 11th place would be Emily Jones. P number 12 would be Greg Sharp. 13th will be Adam Wyborn. P14 would be Mark Samuel. P15 would be Brenton O'Brien. P16 Chris Coxhead. P17 Matthew Deere. P18 Stefan Varga. P19 Reese Need. And rounding out your top 20 would be Pete Walsh.
And then to round out our field tonight, we have Jason Cossey in 21st. Warren Pickering, it's a familiar name we haven't seen in a while, coming out of 22nd position. Justin Wallace in 23rd. Simon Pitt 24th. Martin Casey will start from 25th position. Sam Dunsell out of 26th. Liam Wild in 27th. David Miller in 28th. And then a few big drivers who have not set lap times for qualifying. Wayne Burke, we're going to see him charging through the field, no doubt, tonight. Ryan O'Sullivan, likewise. Brian Borg, also pretty handy at making a few overtakes and fast in these V8s. Watch out for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jacob Knight sneaks up a few positions from his starting position of 32nd from our 32-car grid here this evening. And it's a very short run into La Source Turn 1 here at Spa, but as we have seen in recent history, it is a difficult one nonetheless. We have 32 cars lined up on the grid for you now. The man down the back has waved the green flag. The revs have rise for these 32 V8 supercars, and from the lead, Sam Blacklock takes us away. It looks like he's got a fairly good start. Going to be able to hold that inside line down into turn number 1. Jordan Ross, though, going to try and have a little bit of a dive down the inside, but nonetheless, they all make it through relatively unscathed so far.
And there's a bit of contact behind. Sorry there.
There is a little bit of contact behind, but they are now making their way up to Eau Rouge. I mean, I know that's Radion actually, but they make themselves through Radion and up through Eau Rouge. Very difficult. In these V8 supercars, Riley Blythe just getting a little bit of a slide as he pressed the top of the hill there, and they file, single file. They'll get a big draft down the Kemmel Straight as they come up to Lecombe, and we can see cars now fanning out, going 2 and 3 wide as they come down the Kemmel Straight. Emily Jones having to watch out for, I think that's Adam Wyburn just coming up the inside of Greg Sharp there. Brenton O'Brien having to do a little bit of defending from Mark Samuel also, but fairly clean start with the exception of that small mishap at the at Lecombe there. at Le Source, sorry. And now we've just got Rizzo and Bence having a bit of a go. Rizzo going to hold on to that. Hopefully he's going to run down into Huon, has the preferred line, or turning in very late there, but managing to hold the inside of that apex nicely. And now Bence is going to have to try and go the long way round, but he's going to have the inside as they come into the campus chicane. And looks like Jason Bence is going to be able to pull off that move. And Kyle Stokes also getting in behind Rizzo and having a bit of a look as well.
Exactly. Oh, we got Riley Blythe, Loxton, and Muggleton here coming down. Here we go, the fastest part of the circuit coming up to Blanchimont now. Blythe, a little bit sideways there. This V8 Supercar is really hard to tame. And now Muggleton, and we've got someone around in the background here. Burke is around.
Oh, that's a big shame. Burke's started at the back of the field, and he's going to have a lot more to do now. But Josh Muggleton a little slow coming out of Blanchimont there, covering off Jason Bence very nicely. And got Steve Jansen making a move there on Emily Jones as well, just gives her a little bit of a bump. And Brenton O'Brien trying to go around the outside of Kyle Stokes through the exit of the bus stop chicane too. He's going to try and maybe do something as they come into Lecom here, but looks like Brenton's just not going to be able to get onto that one. Going to have to try for some good traction, but ultimately has to pull in behind Kyle Stokes, and just behind him as well, his teammate Jamie McKnight got a very poor run out of La Source there, and now Mark Samuel is going to have a run as they come up to Eau Rouge. Very critical for Mark just to take it nice and easy here and focus on a good exit, which he's done very well to do. So he just rides the rear bumper of Jamie McKnight there as they come up down the Kemmel Street. Now going to have a big drag race as they come down. Chris Coxhead tucked in behind Mark as well as he looks to try and make his way around Jamie McKnight, but Jamie doing some good defensive work there and managed to cut Mark off in his tracks.
Exactly, that was nearly as close as you could get right there. Nearly spun him around, but right at the moment, who's that behind Samuel? And now third place is on Riley Blythe, Brett Loxton, Muggleton, take two as they come down to Puong. These three drivers have been going at it, I think, for now nearly a whole lap here. Loxton is looking he really wants that position, but it's only lap 2, boys. Calm down. You've got a 28 lap event ahead of you.
Well, I think Loxton can see the gap that is starting to build between Riley Blythe and Jordan Ross up ahead. That gap is already out to a couple of seconds now, and he'll be wanting to minimize as much of that damage as he possibly can. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brett Loxton can get a nice run out of Stavelo 2 there, which he does seem to have done a little bit of slipstream and a good run through Blanchimont. He might be able to do something about Riley Blythe as they come into the bus stop here.
Exactly, and talking about championship contenders, Wayne C. Burke has just left the service, so there's one of the 4 guys out of the championship in this race so far. But at the moment, Loxton has another look. Oh, Blythe taps the grass. Can he get it pulled up? Yes, he can. But now Muggleton taps Loxton. He's gone around at the chicane.
Yeah, that was very close, getting a half speed as he came out. But
now Loxton and Blythe are side by side into the turn 1. Blythe's got the inside line. He gets it going, but Loxton going for the over-under, gets the run, and will get him into Puong. Wow.
Yeah, very nice job there from Brett Loxton, taking a very wide turn in and getting some nice traction out of La Source as they come up to Eau Rouge and making that move work. But Riley Blythe might be able to attack back here. Got a nice run off the top of Eau Rouge and has the slipstream to maybe do something here. He's going to, yes, he's going to pull out and show his intention to go through very late on the brakes of both Brett Loxton and Riley Blythe, and very late on the brakes for Brett works for him very nicely, and he moves himself up into position number 3. And Riley Blythe is going to have to make something work there, although they've got a little bit of a gap now to Jason Bence behind, who gets a tap from Kyle Stokes, who goes way too deep. And now that's going to allow Ross Rizzo to get through as well. So a big mistake there for Kyle Stokes as he just ran into the back of Jason Bentz. But now Riley Blythe able to make a little bit of ground away from Jason Bentz. And we might see a little 2x2 pairing here as they try and catch themselves back up to Jordan Ross and Sam Blacklock at the front of the field.
Well, talking about Jordan Ross and Sam Blacklock, last lap, Jordan Ross took a whole 4/10 out of Blacklock from the first lap. So, and it's been brewing. They were really close to each other going down to the Poolong, and it's looked like it's going to heat up again going into Blanchimont. They've got a long run, so Ross will have the slipstream. He's 3/10 behind Blacklock, but Blacklock got a run out of that last corner.
Yeah, he did do a very nice job of getting out of Stabilo 2 there. And it's very important to get nice exit speed so that when you come down to here in Blanchimont, you have as much speed as you can. Little less critical in one of these V8 supercars where you have to slow down so much for Blanchimont, but nonetheless, very important to get a good exit out of Stabilo 2. And Blacklock at the moment being able to hold on, but you are right in what you said, Corey. It does look like Jordan Ross is starting to inch up bit by bit onto the back of Sam Blacklock. And Brett Loxton and Riley Blythe still have a little bit of a gap back to Jason Bentz. And the guys behind him as well. And Emily Jones just on the end of this train here following Steve Jansen. They're all in still quite a bit of a train too. So definitely going to be a little bit of heat throughout this little train, I suspect. And Josh Muggleton, after not having the best start to this race, might be looking to get a few positions back as well.
Exactly, he's really looking. He would like to get a position back, but might I remind you, this is Spa-Francorchamps and has been widely known as the off-track king of iRacing, and you've got 17 incidents, 28 laps, and these cars are very squirrely. You can get off-tracks easily, and well, I would not be surprised if a couple of these guys are on maybe 5 or 6 incidents, but at the moment, looks like, oh, Loxton got a bit wide there, going into and now he comes at a no-name. I think Blythe might have a look here. He was too far back though. And now up front, Ross is looking into Poolong. Sorry, he's beside Blacklock and he's got him.
Yeah, very nice move there from Jordan Ross. Just having a very nice run as he came out of no name. Sam Blacklock must have just gotten a little bit of wheel spin as he came out of there, and Jordan Ross able to put that power down and get up the inside as they came into Poolong there. We're just getting a shot now of Matthew Deere, who was had a bit of an issue coming into no name corner, and it looks like he was battling with Jason Cossey and Jacob Knight there, and just got a little bit of a tap and shot straight into the outside wall. That was a very punishing impact for Matthew Deere. So he continues to trundle along. Might see him in the pit stops for some repairs. But Jacob Knight has moved himself up 12 positions so far, even though he's rashly bumping some of them out of the way if he needs to. He's got a big gap now to make up to Rhino Sullivan, who's going side by side with Greg Sharp, and they make a little bit of contact as they come up to Blanchimont. They're very tight quarters, and I suspect that Greg might just get on the brakes a little early. No, he won't. He was not going to let Rhino Sullivan through too easily. So Ryan still has to make a solid move here on Greg Sharp to get up through. Ryan, though, 11 positions up since the beginning of the race, starting out of position number 30 and up into 19th position at the moment. Still long race to go as well. Haven't even made the first of our 2 expected pit stops there. But just up ahead of them, Warren Pickering and Stephen Varga, are battling it out as they now come up through Eau Rouge. And that's a position there for Varga, although he got very loose halfway through Eau Rouge there and is got a very poor run as they come down the Camel Straight now. Warren Pickering going to try and use the power in his Fusion Sim Racing Ford to get past, but unfortunately, oh, he's actually done a very good job to hold the outside there, although I think he will have to tuck in as they come through into Lecom, and just staying on that outside edge ever presently and not giving Stephen any of that outside lane to use. But Stephen managing to hold on to that position for now, and just as they were battling behind, Ryan O'Sullivan managed to get through on Greg Sharp, and now he's gonna have a go. But Jacob Knight, who we saw just have that incident before with Matthew Deere, he's actually ended up, I'm just trying to see where he is. He's had a bit of an incident as well as, oh, yeah, I think he might have had a hardware issue there. Yeah, his wheel, I think possibly a disconnection from the wheel there, has locked up his tires and his steering angle in one way, and he's gone into the outside wall at the first at Brussels there. So he's probably not going to be able to recover very well from that. His car's looking very skittish as he tries to make his way back to the pit lane. But now Ryan O'Sullivan, we were just talking about before, made his way back onto Warren Pickering after getting past Greg Sharp, and now as they come into Blanchimont, he is looking for a way past Pickering in his white, pink and black Evolution Racing machine, and not quite able to stick it up the inside of the bus stop there. Greg Sharp looking very eager around the outside, even just slightly rubbing the back of Ryan's car there, but not quite able to get through. And he really wants to make progress on Warren Pickering now, Corey, so that he can have a nice run through the middle sector of this lap and start catching up to Stephen Varga.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to get Warren Pickering out of the road as fast as he can to try and minimise the damage of this championship at the moment, starting from all the way in 30th. He's up now 12 spots, maybe 13. He's been come up through a Rouge and now through Radion, down the Camel straight. Here we go. He's got an amazing run here on Pickering. To the left. Will he clear him before Lecom? Here we go. He gets.
Oh, they're going to go three wide into Lecom here, and Ryan O'Sullivan's going to have to be very brave around the outside, and so he is, as is Greg Sharp taking it down the inside. So Warren Pickering's just lost 2 positions in one corner, and it was almost a little bit reminiscent of Hakkinen and Schumacher back in the old days down that Camel Straight at Spa. Very famous overtake there. Not quite as possibly intense in these V8 supercars as it was in those V10 F1 days, but still an impressive sight nonetheless. And Ryan O'Sullivan moves himself up another spot and into 17th position right now. So up 13 spots, and now he can use this middle sector to start climbing his way back towards Stephen Varga. Up towards the front of the field though, Jordan Ross is starting to just pull away slightly from Sam Blacklock, who's now around 0.8 of a second behind Jordan. And Brett Loxton has actually been picking up the pace a little bit, and he has been catching Jordan Ross and Sam Blacklock and giving a little bit of a toe to Riley Blythe, who's actually the fastest car on track at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. 23.79 for Blythe, 23.86 for Loxton, and then the 2 guys up front, Blacklock 23.9 and 24 flat for Jordan Ross. So the top 4 are pretty close in time at the moment. We'll come around here for the start off lap number 7. Get a bit of a better representation at times. And Blacklock was fastest with a 23.7 that lap.
Yeah, but the lap times have already, after 7 laps, have dropped off 0.8 of a second. So I think that we can start expecting pit stops in the next 2 laps. I think that these cars are probably good for around 10, maybe 11 laps in the fuel window. But given that the amount that the tyres are dropping off and the proximity of some of these drivers, I would expect that some people start coming in and trying to look for a bit of an undercut, look for some fresh grip and some fast times and overtake your opponents in the pits rather than on track. People who would really benefit from that right now are Sam Blacklock, Riley Blythe, Jason Bentz, Ross Rizzo, probably Josh Muggleton as well as another one of those people who really benefit from that. So we might see if they're planning to pit anytime soon, but meanwhile, Jamie McKnight and Mark Samuel are side by side as they come into Brussels, and doing a very nice job is Jamie McKnight to get that position away from Mark, and Chris Coxhead just flying in the background as well, looking for a way that he can capitalize on a little bit of a situation here. Got a nice run out of No Name as he comes down into Pouon now. He'll be looking for some nice exit speed to try and jam it up the inside for the campus chicanes there. And very nice tight line there from Chris Coxhead. Very close to the back of Mark and might pull out at the very last second. Doesn't. Decides to just follow through and look for an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Don't really want to be setting it up the inside lap 7 of the campus chicane, because we all know you've got campus and Stavio. So they're a three-car battle pack for what would be 13th at the moment. So we'll see what happens here. Coming out of Stavio 2 up to Blanchimont. Samuel has a bit of a look, but he won't get it. You don't want to be doing that. Slipstream might be effective if you get the right run through Blanchimont. Here we go. Tap of the brakes, turn it in. Get a good exit. Oh, they both had exactly the same exit. Coxhead would get the advantage of Slipstream into the chicane. Bravest on the brakes wins, and at the moment McKnight was a bit skittish under the brakes. Samuel stays behind. Well, just like that, they're all still going. They have not hit each other yet, nor dived it up the brakes. But at the moment, Coxhead is catching up to Samuel a tiny bit, going into the La Source hairpin there. So you do really get a lot of advantage on your opponents under the brakes. You want to be the most bravest on the brakes you are, the better you get of a run out of the corner as they come up through Kuong and Radion.
And of course, sitting behind your opponents as well and knowing where they're braking, you can make that decision as to whether or not you want a few extra meters on your opponent and whether or not it's worth taking the risk. And a very nice slipstream has Coxhead and Samuel, but not quite able to do anything with it at the moment. I did notice on that lap past as well, Ryan O'Sullivan made his way past Stephen Varga as they came into the bus stop chicane. And Ryan is now going to be hunting down this little pack that we've been talking about, Coxhead, Samuel and McKnight. So I suspect that he'll be there within a couple of laps and might even get his teammate Jamie McKnight backing this pack up a little bit for him to make that easier. But I believe Muggleton also made it past Kyle Stokes on that last lap as well. So Muggleton, we said he had a bit of a rough start and was looking to make up a few more positions. Well, he's made up one. And now he has to chase down Ross Rizzo, who's a couple of seconds up the road and having a little bit of a quiet race at the moment. Although I do have to say, he's doing a very good job. He's only he's about 8 seconds off the lead at the moment, which, considering that we're 8 laps into this race, is very good. And Ross Rizzo, one of those drivers who we've seen do some pretty spectacular things with fuel and strategy, and really have a strong coming home towards the end of this race, I'm sure, as is so typical of the guys down there at Trick Sim Sports. So have a look for Ross for the end of this this race. But we are about to start lap number 9 for these guys, and still no one to make a pit yet. So I think these guys have going to just run it out a little bit longer, and possibly around lap 10, although we do have one person in the pit lane, and that is Mark Samuel, who was pulled out of that battle he was having with Coxhead and McKnight. And you can see already the amount of gap that Ryan O'Sullivan has pulled on Stephen Varga behind and made up to Chris Coxhead. He's already looking to have a move as they come out of the source. And up in Eau Rouge, Ryan O'Sullivan using the incredible speed he's got in that ERT machine right now, and looking to set himself up for a good run here through Eau Rouge, take as much speed up the hill as he possibly can. Cuts a little bit of the inside at Eau Rouge there very nicely. Now has a good slipstream. Chris Coxhead, that we've seen before in this championship, not afraid to battle with an Evolution Racing Team car very hard, as we have seen him do so many times. Not going to have to do so as they come through Lecom now. Ryan O'Sullivan will have to look for a different way around, but I suspect that a few of these guys will be pitting this lap. And Ryan O'Sullivan, I think he's one of the guys you might look at running his fuel window a little longer, given that the pace around that he has compared to his competitors around is so great. And Jacob Knight, unfortunately, the night has just gotten worse and worse for him. He's had an off and doesn't look like he's going to be returning for the rest of this race. Just see if we can get some imagery for you as to what happened there. And yeah, he was, yeah, so there's a bit of an incident up ahead of him, another car coming back onto the track, and Jacob Knight using avoiding action there, but unfortunately not able to keep it out of the outside wall at Lecombs. But it is on for the lead now. We will take you back up to the front because Sam Blacklock is looking ever closer at getting past Jordan Ross, but now they finally come in. And oh my goodness, Blacklock, that was incredibly close to spinning the car, and he might have he just pulled it up in time as they came over the timing line there for the pit lane entry. But we can see most of the cars in now. The only cars not to pit, or actually quite a few cars haven't pitted. Blythe, who's made it past Loxton, we've missed that, and Rizzo and Muggleton have all not pitted, as well as Emily Jones and Adam Wyburn. So a few people here choosing to extend their stint, and our leaders are just filling up with some fresh fuel, a nice E85 and some fresh Dunlop tyres to go on their 600 odd horsepower machines. And Sam Blacklock, I think Sam Blacklock got a speeding penalty. I wasn't sure if he pulled it up, and it looks like he was just a little bit too quick coming into the pit lane there.
Well, all of our championship contenders tonight haven't had the best of nights, and I do believe at the moment, well, sorry, except for Loxton, but at the moment that puts Loxton in P number 2 in track order as he is hunting down or trying to stay with Riley Blythe here. So any guess would be is that most of the field would pit this lap.
Yeah, it's interesting here. We're just focusing our attention up in the commentary booth here on Sam Blacklock. He doesn't appear to have moved from his pit stop box.
I do believe he might have hit that wall on entry, which caused him to spin. He might have not optional but required repairs.
We'll see if we can get some more information on that for you guys, because I think he possibly might have exited that car. I'm not sure that he's going to be returning to the track after that incident. So we'll focus our attention back to the race, but we will see if we can get an update on that for you as this race progresses on. But some attention I would like to bring is to Brenton O'Brien doing a very good job at the moment, up in 14th position, and sitting a little bit higher than he would usually be expecting to sit in one of these V8 Supercar official races, keeping it nice and clean throughout this race, and currently sitting inside the top 15. So we'll hope that he can make a few more positions up before this race is done. But up at the lead of the field now, we do have the rest of our drivers coming into the pit lane. Brett Loxton, Riley Blythe, Ross Rizzo, Josh Muggleton, Emily Jones and Adam Wyborn, as well as Chris Coxhead, and the crew all behind, starting to file into the pit lane now. So we'll have to see Brett Loxton and Riley Blythe now, the nearest competitors to Jordan Ross, who's gone relatively unchallenged on his outlap, which he's going to be very happy with, and he's coming across the start-finish line now. So I think that he's going to retain that lead very comfortably, as we just see Rizzo making it out of the pits ahead of Blythe and Loxton. And, sorry, Bentz has as well. So Jason Bentz doing a very good job on his outlap there and jumping. That must be 3 spots at least that he's jumped there. So great work there great job there from Jason Bentz. But now Loxton and Stokes are side by side coming down the Camel Straight, and I believe that looking at it now, Loxton's going to have the inside advantage, but I think that Kyle Stokes is going to push it around the outside here and try and get the inside line for turn number 8 there, and does a good job. Brett just giving him a little bit of a love tap as he comes through, and now he's going to have to defend from Muggleton, who might just try and chuck it down the inside into Bruce's here, but doesn't, and he hits the back, and Brett Loxton does an incredible job to keep that car in a straight line and to pull it up nonetheless, and not also go into the back of Kyle Stokes, and Muggleton needs to reevaluate his braking marker for that corner when he's in proximity of other cars. And Loxton doing an incredible job to keep that car straight, but did lose that position to Kyle Stokes, and now has a lot of work to do because the guy who was battling before, Riley Blythe, is now 3 seconds up the road.
Exactly, not really something you'd be wanting to look at the moment, but, well, the pit stop has flicked this race at the moment on its head, but we're only 11 laps in. We've still got another 17 or so laps left to go, so we're not even halfway yet and the race is going off.
Yeah, and I've just noticed as well, we've lost a couple of other drivers as we've gone through that pits. Yeah, O'Sullivan came, he did his pit stop and he's come out of the pits, and I think he might have, just having a look back now, and I think he might have, it looks like he might have had an internet failure or something happen there because he's just dropped off the face of the earth completely. So that was really unfortunate. Ryan O'Sullivan was up 13 or 14 positions from his start at the back of the grid and was doing a fantastic job regaining all those positions and moving himself forward, and we're not unfortunately going to be able to see any more of that tonight because he is out of this race. Greg Sharp as well has exited the field after having something happen to him as well. But now we have Jason Bentz in position number 2 and Jordan Ross comfortably in first place. So, and as we said before, Ross Rizzo one to look out for. He's managed to move himself up into 3rd position now, and Loxton has just made his way through on Kyle Stokes after getting past as he came out of the pits there. So Loxton now has a big gap to make up to Riley Blythe. 4 seconds is what needs to be improved on in the next stint for Brett Loxton. It's a pretty big ask, but with the championship on the line, you might see some extra talent coming out of Brett Loxton's pause this evening. We'll have to wait and see. He's still defending a little bit there from Kyle Stokes, who's pressuring him into a mistake to try and get that one back, but Brett's now made a fairly sizable gap on Stokes there and should have no trouble starting to move away. But yeah, this race has really been flipped on its head now. The top 3 of this race, Jordan Ross, Jason Bentz, and Ross Rizzo, and we have lost Sam Blacklock out of this race pretty much. In fact, I'll just check and see if he's still circulating, because he is back out. So I suspect, Corey, that you were right. I think that, in fact, he's just pulled off to the edge of the track now, and I think that he's retiring that car. So I think you were right in that he possibly hit the wall there and took some required repairs, even though didn't seem like that big a hit. He must have taken some fairly sizable damage to the right rear quarter of that car, and he is now out. But that promotes quite a few people in this field a lot higher than they have been. Emily Jones is up into 9th position. Steve Jansen up into 8th, and Muggleton still trying to claw back a few positions. But he's still hounding the back of Kyle Stokes, and they're probably the closest battle on track at the moment, other than Benson Rizzo as well up the front of the field. And Rizzo looks like he's got a fairly good run this time as they come into Lecombe, and Benson's going to have a bit of a defensive weave there, just take the inside line away from Rizzo, and that is going to remain Jason Benz's position for the time being, but definitely showing signs that he doesn't have the pace in his car right now. And Riley Blythe is currently the fastest car on track, albeit by just a 10th or a few hundredths of a second, but edging closer to this battle pack of Rizzo and Benz here, and he may be able to take 2nd position away from both of these guys. We've seen Blythe do some very aggressive driving throughout this series, and quite often at times paying off, at others it hasn't. but he is gaining on this pack, and Rizzo looks like he wants to take the fight to Bence right now.
Yeah, exactly. Riley Bryce is sitting there waiting to see if these two guys will make contact and wreck each other out of the race. But at the moment, Rizzo's staying with Bence, and well, we could see a really great three-way battle into the bus stop chicane, maybe out of the source next lap.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but Riley Blythe is definitely moving closer, quite evidently, both visually and on the timing screen, and he's going to be involved with these guys very shortly. And Bence just looking like he's, I guess, not so much succumbing to the pressure, but very much is aware that he has the two cars of Rizzo and Blythe pounding up on him, and just looking a little raggedy as he comes out of the bus stop chicane there. He's really struggling to put the traction down, and seeing as they've come out of the pits so recently, he'll be not wanting to use much of the traction in those Dunlop tires. Try to keep the temperatures down. As we have said, the track temp tonight is 34 degrees, which is not extremely hot, but it's still hotter than it could be. And keeping these tires nice and cool and making sure you don't overheat them or overuse them too early in the stint is still something these guys definitely have to consider. And Rizzo now has a much better run this time than he did last time coming out of Eau Rouge. He's now going to get some overspeed and get some overlap around the outside. We've seen a few guys try and move it around the outside here. Rizzo taking it very late. Bence covering him off very closely, kind of half-heartedly there, but they all make it through, and Riley Blythe trying to dice it in there on the inside of Rizzo. And now as we come into Brussels here, Ross Rizzo going very early and very tight on the Brussels corner and managing to just keep everyone in check. Jason Bence really using every little bit of track that he can at the moment to stay ahead of Rizzo, but he's got a great run out of No Name Corner, and surely now Jason Bence is going to have to secede this position, but he doesn't. He covers across very quickly, very late tap on the brakes, pulls himself across, and now Riley Blythe is very, very eager to get past these guys. Very, very big moment and a great catch as they come out of Pouon there. But that just gives Jason Bence a little bit of breathing room as Rizzo just backs off ever so slightly. And as they come down into Stavolo 1 here, looks like Rizzo's just setting himself up for a good run out, and Bence has run very wide as they come through Stavolo 1 and wide again through the second Stavolo. Both of these guys, Riley Blythe just using all the rubber that's available to him and a little more as they come out of Stavolo 2. Now Ross is smarter driver than to chuck it down the inside of Blanchimont, so he's going to look for the good run out on the power nice and early, runs it out very wide. Going to try and go late on the brakes as they come into the bus stop, but unfortunately just not close enough for the driver of Ross Rizzo this time by. But you can see now setting himself up for a nice run into La Source. Don't think it's quite going to be enough though. We'll have to wait and see if this sorts it out at the top of Eau Rouge this time by.
Exactly, Rizzo. It was 3/10 going through the Fagnes chicane, but now it's only 6/10 and closing up. But the gap between Ross and Bence is now, well, what is over 5 seconds? Well, exactly 5 seconds as they come up through Radion. Oh, Bence getting a little bit sideways there. Rizzo might get a run, but Riley Bryce still doing the same strategy, staying back, saving fuel, and waiting for something to happen as Ross takes a little look and saying to Bence, hello, I really want that position, can you please give it to me? And Bence is saying, no, thank you very much, I want to keep this. As they come through Malmedy now and down to Bruxelles hairpin. Bence saying he's really offensive on his line and maybe using up too much tyre. As they come through Bruxelles, they're both on the brakes, getting that rear of the car to stop it. And as they come through No Name, you got to get a good run here. Well, Rizzo does to get a good run to Pouon. He has another look. He might get, no, he doesn't get side by side. He taps the brake earlier, trying to get the car stopped. As they come through Pouon here, Blythe still staying back, waiting. Rizzo, he really wants that position now, doesn't he? As they come into the Fagnes chicane. they're driving nearly half of their hearts out. They don't want to kill the tyres this early in the race, and we are actually past the halfway mark. So another 14 laps to go, and well, 14 laps at this side me up, please. They come through the second Stavio corner. Rizzo had to tap the brake out and not hit Bence up the rear. And as they come into Blanchimont here, we could see another opportunity for maybe a late braking move from Rizzo, but I think he's more smarter to do that. They come through Blanchimont now. He got an amazing run on the entry. Exit goes as Bence's way. Into the chicane they go, but I think Blythe is right there again. Doesn't go for it though.
Yeah, it seems like Blythe's really conserving at the moment. He doesn't really look like he wants to really get involved in this battle too much. He might just be playing a little bit of strategy here, which is, I don't want to say it's uncommon for Blythe, but usually Blythe is maximum attack 100% of the time, and looks like at the moment he's just biding his time and waiting for something to happen. But Jason Bence has been very defensive. We've seen him put on some amazing defensive drives throughout this V8's Supercars series, and once again doing a great job. But that is a huge moment through the top of Eau Rouge, and that is going to probably lose him.
And now this is Blythe's moment down the middle. This is not going to work. Oh, good call there from Blythe pulling it up. That was going to cause a 3-car melee there, but Rizzo's got the nose in front around the outside through Lacombe side by side here as they enter Malmedy, nearly touching. But Bence has got the inside run. Rizzo's on the outside there. Here we go, down to the Bruxelles. It's a run. Rizzo's got it. Blythe looks on Bence. Down there. Oh, Bence nearly locks up the rears. He actually does though, and they're nearly going to tap. They do tap. But Blythe has the run. Yes, he does on the no name. And Bence is going to have another look. Nearly taps him though. Wow. And like that, Rizzo gets second, and Bence has been demoted down to 4th, as we have Burke, I believe. Not Burke, sorry, Stokes.
Yeah, Stokes having a bit of a look on Brett Loxton. He's been doing a good job actually to keep up with Loxton these last few laps. They've started to pull away from Josh Muggleton, but gotta say, those moves there by Rizzo and Blythe, very nice there. And Blythe using the absolute maximum limit of what Jason Bence allowed him there, and possibly a millimetre or two more. But in these V8 Supercars, that is, I guess, to be expected. And fair racing there. Very nice job. And a good job by Jason Bence as well to make sure that all those 3 cars ended up on the other side of that move. So great racing there from those 3 drivers. But Kyle Stokes is looking pretty handy at the moment. His times are very comparable with the guys up ahead of him. And in fact, this battling from Blythe, Rizzo and Bence has really allowed Loxton to make up that gap. We were just saying as they came out of the pits that the gap from Loxton to as Bence has actually hit it. So that's an interesting strategy move there. That maybe the pit window is just opened up to allow them to get to the end of the race on fuel.
That'll be some fuel saving, I think, from Bence to make it home, but he's got to do what, 11 laps, 11 or 12 laps on a tank of fuel on a set of tyres. And at the moment, these guys can't even do 10 laps the way they're going at the moment. But well, it's going to be an arse there from Bence to do it. Yeah,
I'm not sure he would. I mean, it could just be on the borderline, but I very much doubt that he would come in and pit and take that fuel if he didn't really think he had a good chance of making it. And as we saw Loxton closing up on that pack, it was costing them quite a bit of time battling it out, and possibly Bence just opting to take that opportunity to get some clear air. But he has been sitting in his pit stall for a very long period of time, and I suspect that something untoward could have happened to Jason Bence as well. So we'll have to see what's happened there, because he's been sitting in the pit lane for a very long time.
Well, he's actually out of the car, so very weird there from Bence. He might have got a meatball flag as well, maybe, but there wasn't anything to say that.
No, I mean, the only thing, I don't even think he could have really gotten a slowdown or anything that didn't clear and give him a black flag or anything like that. We'll see if we can get some more information on that for you as well, guys, because couple of bizarre things have happened throughout this race. We've had a couple of guys seemingly out for virtually no reason. We'll see if we can get down to the bottom of those incidents for you. But Riley Blythe is now sitting very pretty in position number 3 behind Ross Rizzo, and probably just using this time now to do a little bit of fuel saving and hope that him and Ross can start pushing themselves back away from Brett Loxton, because Brett Loxton's only 1.4 seconds behind now, and he's ever so gingerly getting himself into that slipstream. And once he's around that 1.11 second area, it's going to make it much easier for him to pull himself back up onto these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, there's no chances of getting back up the lead if Jordan Ross has a mistake, because, well, Ross is now 8 seconds, 7.8 seconds, sorry, up the road as of the last time they passed the timing loop. So, Blythe here at the moment, if I was him, I'd be staying behind, saving a bit of fuel, maybe tyres as well. You could jump Rizzo that way, because Rizzo, well, he's creating the bubble of air, and Loxton and Stokes will be doing the same thing if they do catch up, but Blythe has got to run. And he goes completely against everything I just said. He goes down the inside of Rizzo, late on the brakes, gets the move nice and done, and now Rizzo can just sit behind and save some fuel.
Yeah, which I'm sure is exactly what Ross will be wanting to do, but Ross making sure that he's not losing any time by staying behind Riley Blythe and using every millimeter available to make sure that he's not being held up, and just giving a little bit of a tap and a little bit of a push through the Brussels hairpin is Ross Rizzo on Riley Blythe. But now Riley will be able to stretch his legs a little bit and start pulling himself up towards Jordan Ross, if that's at all possible. And Jordan Ross has been very fortunate in this race so far. Sam Blacklock, the man who was leading for the most early part of the race, having a bit of an incident on entry into pit lane, and not able to recover from that, had to exit the race. And Jordan has had this group of cars behind him battling it out for the last few laps, and he's just been able to extend his lead monstrously. So looking very handy right now for Jordan Ross in his Synergy Sim racing machine. But there are still 10 laps to go here at Spa-Francorchamps, and as everybody knows, one minor mistake around this beautiful circuit and it can turn into a very disastrous day. But right now, Riley Blythe leads this little train of cars. Ross Rizzo, Brett Loxton now, and Kyle Stokes are all within the slipstream. So I think Brett Loxton's had some good speed early on in this race, was fighting with Riley Blythe earlier, and now going to have to take the challenge up to Ross Rizzo within the next couple of laps. But we are coming into our second pit window now, so any of these guys could bite as we come around the circuit one more time, and they'll be fueling to the end of this race with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a flurry of cars in the pits in the next lap or two to make it home, but if you're doing it right, you could maybe get enough fuel in, maybe a full tank if you wish, to the end. But short stop the guys up in front as Rizzo gets behind Blythe, gets a run, and backs out of a good thing for him because he's saving fuel, and we all know it. The Trick Simsport guys do it the best. And now that's brought Loxton into the mix here. Stokes is behind, about a second or so behind. They're still in the bubble of air, but I don't know if he can catch back up to them. So now it's a three-way battle for P2.
Yeah, and we've got a few drivers on the pit lane, actually. Adam Wyborn just leaving. We've got Brenton O'Brien making his second stop, who had just pulled himself up into the top 10. And he'll now be coming out side by side with Liam Wild, who we haven't been covering much this race, but Brenton just able to pull himself ahead of Liam as he comes out of the pits. And he'll trundle along for his final stint in this race. And hopefully he'll be able to retain that top 10 position as it just cuts a little bit of Eau Rouge there. Hopefully not getting a slowdown for him. But this battle that we have for you for second place is definitely the tightest battle that we have on track at the moment. And we're expecting these guys to possibly come into the pits this time round. I have no doubt that one of these three guys will decide to bite, and even we should count Kyle Stokes and Josh Muggleton in this as well, because if they pit early and get a good stop, they might be able to have something to do with that second position by the end of this race. It's only just up the road for them, so they come down into the bus stop now. Riley Blythe leads Rizzo, Loxton, Stokes, and Muggleton. Who is going to dive for the pits? We'll have to see. It looks like Riley Blythe, Ross Rizzo go for the pits. Loxton stays out. Stokes into the pits, as is Muggleton, who rides very closely to that outside pit wall there. So who is going to have the best pit team? Trick Sim Sports have been training their guys up pretty thoroughly. We've seen that through lots of experience. The ERT boys have usually got a pretty nifty, handy strategy up their hands as well. But you can never either doubt out Synergy Sim Racing or TTR. So four of the biggest teams in V8 Supercars Australian sim racing in the pit lane now. Who's going to have the fastest pit stop? We'll have to see in just a few moments. I suspect that might see Riley Blythe coming off those jacks very shortly. So Ross is out. Blythe is out, and he's got a very quick stop. Jordan Ross has taken a very long stop there, and he's given up virtually his entire lead because Riley Blythe is already only a second and a half to 2 seconds behind. Rizzo comes out ahead of Muggleton and Stokes, and then Steve Jansen comes out behind them. So quite a few changes there, and Riley Blythe has had an extremely quick stop. So he's now only a second and a half behind Jordan Ross now. So that 8-second lead has been virtually completely eliminated.
And you know the reason why that would be fuel saving, because Blythe was in that draft behind Rizzo for at least 5 laps. Ross was all by himself in clean air, and that's what the draft can help you with the V8. If you do it right, you can save and basically eliminate someone's gap all in one stop. As now we've got David Miller here. He's not down a lap, he's on the lead lap, and he hasn't pitted yet. So these guys are not racing him, and he's not racing them for position. So we might see him either let him go easily or race him, but he's still got to pit. So he's going to be pitting easily this lap.
Yeah, and if you know who Riley Blythe is, and you can see Riley just wants to get past so bad, pushing David Miller through, who on there, and he's going to fire it down the inside into the chicane there, and a very nice job. Going to have to, yeah, that was a very smart decision by David Miller to back out of that one, because Riley Blythe was not going to take no for an answer. So now Riley Blythe is the man who has to chase down the leader in Jordan Ross, and his car speed's been good throughout this race. And Brett Loxton, by the way, has just entered the pit lane. So this could, if Brett Loxton's got his timing up and he knows what's going on, he might be able to do something. He's mostly out by himself for a lot of that stint, and doing a little bit of battling as well. So I'm not sure he'll be able to save to the same extent of the likes of Riley Blythe, but amazing strategy there by Evolution Racing Team. And Ross Rizzo not far behind on Blythe as well, and has been showing some good pace. So where will Brett Loxton come out in comparison to these guys? Well, looks like Jordan Ross is just coming past the end of the pit lane now, and Brett Loxton is still on the jacks. He just gets going now, and it looks like he's going to have a bit of a drag race and might just be able to pull up ahead of Muggleton, and has a few cars worth of gap there to Muggleton behind. So Brett Loxton now going to have to chase Rizzo and hope that Muggleton doesn't catch him at the end of the Camel Straight, because he had a good run down the pit straight there, and I think Loxton might have to give this one up. Josh Muggleton goes to the outside there, does a nice job, and just too much speed for Brett Loxton to be able to deal with there, as Brett, unfortunately, coming out of the pits, just didn't have the same momentum coming down into Eau Rouge. And you can see that even though it was over such a long distance, that extra few meters of acceleration that Josh Muggleton had made all the difference, even with that immense gap that Loxton had, and almost pushing Muggleton round as they went through the hairpin there.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you guys did catch it or not, but Muggleton on his outlap, he went very wide out of Radion, so that's why he's a bit further back from Rizzo than what he was coming out of the pit. Sorry, but now Loxton is in a battle, and well, there's no point in the fuel save now. If you know you can get to the end, push like a madman. So this battle could go on to the end of the race. There's no point in saving fuel at all, because well, you know, you've got Margot, and then you've got a 3-second gap to the podium. So if I was Loxton, I'd be pushing to get as many points as I can over your championship rivals here.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, Loxton's had a few pretty cruddy races this season. He's been on the end of a few unfortunalities throughout a couple of races, so a decent result, even a top 5, may push him up in the championship standings, even though the strength of field that we have here tonight is not the greatest. And Muggleton being a teammate of the championship leader at the moment, I mean, I know that he'll be fighting tooth and nail to hold that 6th position, or 4th position, pardon me, either way. But just knowing that his teammate has that championship position right now, and that Brett Loxton is one of the guys that can take it away from him, might just put in that little extra bit of effort to make sure that he's going to maximize the deficit to his teammate. So Loxton has a good run though, and got plenty of speed as he comes out of the top of Eau Rouge here. So I think he'll probably get that move done and get that position back for position number 4. He's going to have to go around the outside, but we've seen a lot of guys in these V8 supercars making that outside line work and taking it in for the inside of the next corner. And Brett Loxton not leaving much room, and they touch once. Might just go for a little bit of a rub again as they come through. Oh, and Muggleton, my goodness, very eager on the trigger there, and just managing to not over-rotate the car beyond control. So Muggleton does give up the position, albeit very fashionably, but he's now got Carl Stokes to worry about behind him as well.
Yeah, exactly. He sort of did the same thing he did coming out of Radion there in his outlap, but now he's got a 0.6 of a second deficit now back to Loxton, and he's got Stokes to worry about now. So the battle now for P5 is on as Stokes looks for a move. He doesn't get it done though. He doesn't have a nose up there anyway. So it's single file now. If you're not brave to out of Stavio 2 to get a run into Blanchimont, but even though Blanchimont's not an optimal diving manoeuvre spot, you could get him at the bus stop chicane. They come out of Stavio. Best run here wins basically, and at the moment, Muggleton got it.
Yeah, Muggleton used a lot more track there than Kyle Stokes did, and as they come into Blanchimont, he takes well more than the recommended amount of inside curb there, and that'll be an off-track, I would imagine, for Josh Muggleton. I don't think he'll possibly get a slowdown for that, but definitely doing a little bit of handyman work as he went through the inside of Blanchimont there. Might have to re-turf that section for the next race before we come back. But Kyle Stokes not managing to gain at the moment on Josh Muggleton, and Brett Loxton just starting to pull away as well. While we have a little bit of a lull in the race here, guys, would mind you thank you for subscribing to the iRacing Esports Network. And if you want to see more races like this, and there are so many other great racing series we have on the iRacing Esports Network, make sure you leave us a like on this video as well. And as I said, smash that subscribe button, and also make sure you turn on the notifications so that every time we go live on the iRacing Esports Network, you can know about it and you can drop in and watch some fantastic racing. But at the moment, Jordan Ross currently leads this race ahead of Riley Blythe and Ross Rizzo. And Ross Rizzo right now is doing a little better than Riley Blythe. Blythe maybe made a bit of a mistake on the last round of this track, because he was about 0.6 of a second slower than Rizzo and Jordan Ross as well. So Ross is extending that lead, and Rizzo just starting to claw back that gap to Blythe now as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's all really Rizzo at the moment. Sorry, his last lap was a full half a second nearly half a second faster than Blythe, so he's within that 1 second barrier, so he'd be getting draft from him as we'll be coming around this lap to get lap 24, so we'll have 5 laps to go this time by, so enough time for Rizzo to get back the time he lost and, well, possibly send it up the inside of the bus stop chicane, maybe.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it does look like Ross has some good speed in that car at the moment, and he definitely looks like he's in the mood to use it. Very clean lines coming through Blancham on there, not cutting up as much grass as we saw Muggleton do on the previous circuit around Spa-Francorchamps, but Blythe managing to keep himself pretty cool at the moment. Has a little bit of he's lost another 0.2 of a second on that lap, or close to 0.2 on that lap. So Ross just starting to pull away, and Rizzo just starting to pull himself in on that ERT machine. And Riley Blythe is doing a very good job up in second position. He started 4th, and this is pretty much the highest I think that we've seen him in one of these Monday night races so far. And Jordan Ross has not won a televised Monday night strength of field race either, so it would be a fantastic achievement for Jordan Ross if he can keep it on track for the next 4 or 3 and a bit odd laps. He'll be able to say that he won on the iRacing Esports Network, iRacing official V8 Supercar series. But he does still have 3 more circuits of this 7-kilometer track to go round, and it can bite you at any moment. Looking back through the field, Brett Loxton is trundling along, starting to pull himself up to the likes of Rizzo, but very far behind at the moment. Don't believe that we're going to see anything proliferate before the end of the session. But Stokes has been holding on to Muggle well, and we will actually take you back to Borg and McKnight, who are actually having a little bit of a battle right now. And Jamie McKnight is going to try and go round the outside, trying to push himself up in the second half of that corner and go for the inside at No Name. He's just about there, but unfortunately didn't quite have as much room as he would have wanted there, and just decided to bail out. But Coxhead now going up the inside of Brenton O'Brien and just managing to pull it up before going into the back of O'Brien there. Doing some good defensive driving, but we've seen Chris Coxhead, as we said earlier, he doesn't mind getting into a fight with an ERT machine, and there are a couple of them about to get into a fight with. And Brenton O'Brien has had a pretty quiet race, trundling along by himself and keeping it clean, trying to keep himself inside the top 10 at the moment. So, but Coxhead, a very aggressive racer, and has had some good practice against Riley Blythe in the past. Has a good run now as they come out of the second stabilo, and he'll be looking for a move into the bus stop chicane, I'm sure. Very nice speed and looking very good as they come through Blanchimont now. Brenton O'Brien just knocks that inside curb just a little bit, unsettling the car. Coxhead going to go late on the brakes round the outside. O'Brien has the preferred inside line though, and Coxhead just not quite able to pull that car up. He's going to have a nice run into La Source though, with a nice exit as he comes through the second half of the
I wonder what
bus stop
source
chicane.
they do.
And Chris Coxhead doing everything to pull it up. Wow, that was a great piece of driving there. Locked the rears up completely and slid it in. Not able to make it work, unfortunately. And now Borg, is going to have a run, and Coxhead's just going to bail out of that as they come in ready on an Eau Rouge. But that was an incredible piece of driving there for Coxhead not to completely balls that up.
But now Coxhead is side by side with Borg here. He's got his nose halfway up the car, and now Borg getting a run on McKnight. Oh no, don't do it, Borg! Oh, it just gets it pulled up as well. O'Brien, Borg, Coxhead. This is a great battle, and now who is that behind? It's McKnight. It's now a four-way battle for this position. This is going off.
Yeah, and everyone really wants a piece 10 right now, and none more so than Brenton O'Brien, who is just trying to hold on to that position. He's got three very fierce competitors though behind him, trying to take it away, and he's going to have to survive another 14, 15 kilometers before he can say that he held them off. But Brian Borg's been looking very strong through the high-speed section, but it is unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it is on up at the front of the field. Ross Rizzo has worked himself up on the back of Riley Blythe, who takes a little bit of the inside curb there at Blanchimont, and Ross Rizzo has worked that gap that was nearly 2 seconds, and it is now just 0.4 of a second to Riley Blythe up ahead. So he's going to be getting a very big hole punched in the air ahead of him as he comes up into Lecombe this next time by, and he's going to have to use every little bit of horsepower under the bonnet of that Trick Sim Sports Commodore to get past the Falcon of Riley Blythe there.
Yeah, this is a definite Ford versus Holden battle here. Well, Rizzo has got the draft advantage. Blythe might have their pace advantage, but they come up through El Rouge and Latch Rayon actually coming out of there too. Now, Campbell straight. Rizzo's got to run. Looks down the left-hand side of Riley Blythe's ERT Ford Falcon. He's got the nose in front, but will he pull it off around the outside? No, he doesn't. Into Lecombe they go. Oh, it's close, but Rizzo, he's got to try something else to get that spot. And now they come out of Malmedy down into Bruxelles.
It was
Rizzo's still looking, though.
It was a very conservative approach from Ross Rizzo as they came down into Lecombe there. Had quite a good move to work with there, but just didn't want to risk pushing it around the outside, and that could have something to do with Riley Blythe's reputation as a very fierce racer, and Ross's is more of a consistent conservative one, or maybe he just wasn't feeling it at the time. The battle behind, though, with O'Brien, Borg, Coxhead and McKnight still going strong. Brian Borg very, very close to the back of Brenton O'Brien, and Chris Coxhead just waiting backstage for the curtains to open and some positions to open up for him. And Borg now looks like he's got a very good run out of No Name Corner. Try and stick it down the inside at Pouon, and he does so very late on the brakes, but Brenton O'Brien makes sure that he can't take that spot away from him just yet. Although Borg's going to try and keep some traction going and take that inside line. Oh no! Brenton O'Brien has gone off the track, and Chris Coxhead, well, the stage opened and the lights were shining bright in, but he made it through. He got his lines out of the way, and he's moved himself up 2 positions. And Brian Borg there, I mean, he was entitled to that bit of track, I guess. I think Brenton, a little bit optimistic with, we'll have to look at that one again, but that was some very hard racing there, and something like that is bound to happen. But for the time being, Coxhead, pardon me, has moved himself into the lead of that little pack there.
But sorry, Zach, second and third is on again there, bumper to bumper down into El Rouge and Radion. Rizzo is right up the backside of Riley Blythe as they come out of Radion down to the Kemmel straight. Tries it down the outside again. Side by side, wheel to wheel. Who's going to break late? Riley Blythe. Oh, he's got the inside though. Rizzo did have a bit of advantage under the brakes. Oh, he's sideways, nearly touching. Through Lecombe, now through Malmedy. Side by side, he's going to get the run down into Bruxelles. But Blythe has got the inside. He doesn't have the nose there. Rizzo could chop it off. No, he doesn't. Didn't get the brake right. Didn't get it stopped. Blythe is there on the inside, side by side now through No Name. Very close to each other. But now Rizzo's got the nose up there. Yeah, he'll pull back in. Blythe goes defensive. Through Pouong they go now. Rizzo tried again, but failed. He's still got the 1.5 laps left to go. So I think he might stay behind, cool off the tyres and go for a late move down into Lecombe again. But he's, again, up the rear of Blythe. He might have a look into the bus stop chicane. They come through Stavelo 1 and now into Stavelo 2.
Yeah, there's been some very tenacious driving from these two competitors here. And Ross Rizzo looks like he's got the goods to make a move on Riley Blythe, but Riley doing a fantastic job to just position his car in the right place at the right time and retain that second position. Both these guys should still be on the podium, although Brett Loxton is starting to catch up to these guys fairly rapidly. He's made up a second and a half in the last lap, and if these guys keep on going at it, well, we might just be able to do something at the end of the race. But they do start now the final lap. Jordan Ross has already started the final lap. He's just a few seconds up the road from these guys, and Ross Rizzo just trying to turn in as late as he can and make sure he's as close to the back of Riley Blythe's Evolution Racing Team Falcon as he can be as they come up to Radion Anna Rouge for the final time. Ross looking pretty good. He's a few car lengths back at the moment. Gonna really have to nail this run as they come over the top of the hill, and I think he's got a fairly good run. It's not the best run. He's definitely had better. Riley Blythe still going to go for that defensive line, and I think he knows.
Here we go. Rizzo's going to pull in.
No, he's going to do the very late move, but he didn't quite have enough to make that work, and Riley Blythe knew it, and he managed to cut off Ross's attack there. Rizzo's going to have to find another way past on the final lap here at Spa. Taking it very close to the back of Riley Blythe. Just not quite able to make it work.
Exactly. He had the rears locked up a tiny bit there into the Boswell cicadas, and now come out of no name down to Puong. He's got what would be 2 or 3 chances, a big chance to be the bus stop chicane as he goes a little bit wide through Puong. So he's got to keep as close as he can to Blythe. He loses the rear nearly coming out of Puong. So I think he might have really bad rear tyres compared to what Riley Blythe has, so that might be why he didn't get a good run out of Radion or out of Fagia as well, and also Puong. So he's lost about 2 tenths since he was behind him out of no name. Now they come through Stavio 2. This is it, the final chance. Jordan Ross is 6 seconds up the road. You'll never get him now, but now it's a battle for P2.
But we will focus our attention on Jordan Ross because he has done everything that he has needed to do this evening, bar go through this final chicane, which he will no doubt do very easily. Jordan Ross rounds the bus stop chicane for the final time, and he will win Monday night strength of field race here at Spa on the iRacing Esports Network. That's the first win for Jordan in a Monday night strength of field race. Riley Blythe will come across over the line second.
Oh, but no,
but
got him P5.
Oh, Muggleton's just gonna make it. I think he made it by 0.02 of a second, did Josh Muggleton. Just managed to pull ahead, but Riley Blythe as well. That's the first podium for him in a Monday night strength of field race, so big congratulations to him. And I think Ross Rizzo possibly as well, though Ross Rizzo has had some outstanding results in this series before. Not sure if that's his first podium, but nonetheless an excellent result for him, coming home in position number 3. So here at Spa, we've really mixed it up for you tonight. 3 guys who have been, or in fact Jordan's been on the podium before, came so close to winning in this series 2 times out last time, 2 times out previously at Daytona, lost by 0.02 of a second, but this time he was able to make it work, and what a fantastic job he did. We just have the last of our finishers coming over the line now. Reese Keane comes home in position number 20th, who haven't seen a lot of tonight, and still a few drivers coming around the circuit. It is a very big track here at Spa, so got to wait a little while for them to come through. But that was a really interesting race, Corey. We pretty much saw the entire field flip around completely, and after that first round of pit stops, it was a very different race to what we started with.
Yeah, exactly. After that first pit stop, it sort of set the tone to how the rest of the race was going to go. Sam Blacklock sadly grabbing the pit entry wall and had to, what by looks, to retire the car early on in the race. So, but after that, it was hard racing by everyone. It was clean, hard. There were a couple of moments where, you know, there was a bit of rubbing, maybe someone being put into the wall, but other than that, it was really clean, respectful, tight racing in tonight for what is one of the longest races so far this season.
Yeah, that is a very good point. The guys tonight did an excellent job of keeping it, for the most part, very clean throughout that race. And I think that might come down to a lot of the experience that a lot of drivers have here at Spa-Francorchamps, being such a popular and such a fun circuit to drive. But we will take you to our results page now, and Jordan Ross takes a win for Synergy Sim Racing, and doing a fantastic job of that, and 6.1 seconds ahead of the next finishing car, Riley Blythe, his first podium in a Monday night strength of field race here on the iRacing Esports Network. And Ross Rizzo will round out your podium. Brett Loxton still in the championship hunt. A fourth place is definitely not the worst thing to go towards his championship. Josh Muggleton managed to just keep fifth position as they came over the line from Kyle Stokes, who came home in sixth. Steve Jansen had a pretty quiet race, as did Emily Jones, finishing in 7th and 8th respectively. Adam Wyborn ended up in 9th, and Chris Coxhead, after that very hard-fought battle with Jamie McKnight, Brian Borg, and Brenton O'Brien, came home to round out your top 10.
Exactly. In 11th place, Jamie McKnight, and P12, as you said, Brian Borg. Those three guys had an amazing race there towards the end, but sadly, O'Brien was the unlucky one, struck out. P12 will be Brian Borg. P13 will be Warren Pickering. P14, Stefan Varga. P15, David Miller. P16 will be Mark Samuel. P17, Brenton O'Brien, as we said, was the unlucky one at an incident. P18, Justin Wallace. P19 will be Reeves Knee, finishing where he started, and P number 20 would be Martin Cassie.
And then to finish out our field tonight, we had Liam Wild in 21st position, Jason Cossey in 22nd, and when we had Simon Pitt, who was a lap down, and we had a few cars who were a few laps off the lead as well. Matthew Deere having an incident early in the race, putting a bit of trouble for him, finishing 3 laps down. And then the first of our non-finishers, Jason Bentz, Sam Blacklock, Ryan O'Sullivan, Greg Sharp, Jacob Knight, Sam Dunstall, Pete Walsh, and Wayne Burke, all very early retirements from that 28-lap race that we had here at Spa-Francorchamps. But the action may be over for this evening, ladies and gentlemen, but there is still plenty coming up on the iRacing Esports Network and on V8's Online. For you on V8's Online tomorrow, we have the 410 sprint cars at Charlotte, and that is going to be very dirty and very spicy racing. We've seen a lot of fantastic racing from those sprint cars recently, so make sure you tune into V8's Online for that. On Wednesday, we have the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australia GT3 Championship on the iRacing Esports Network, and we'll be racing from Nürburgring. Always a fantastic series, and a lot of very strong Australian drivers in that field, so make sure that you tune in and check it out. On Friday, we will take you back to some more endurance V8 supercars with the Australian Online Supercar Championship, who'll be racing at Phillip Island, as will the official racing series. The Monday night strength of field race next Monday will also be coming at you from the Phillip Island circuit, which is going to be an absolute hoot. We always love going to Phillip Island. It's a home track for a lot of people who drive the V8 supercar, and one of those great tracks that's always just fun to drive, isn't it, Corey?
Yeah, exactly. And whatever car you drive in the GCE cars, GT3, anything, it's an amazing track to drive. And well, lucky guys in the V8 will be driving around that track for 46 laps next Monday. So that'll be a very exciting race to watch, as it is the championship finale as well. So stay tuned for that one.
Yes, absolutely. We're not 100% who's going to win the title at the moment. Sam Blacklock is looking very strong, but after a poor result tonight and some decent finishes from some of his competitors, we might see that tighten up for the final race of the series. But from us here on the iRacing Esports Network and from V8's Online, we thank you so much for watching this evening. If you haven't already, make sure you leave us a like on this video and you smash that subscribe button for us. But that's all for our racing this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
3, 2, 1.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's it, 46 watts. That's faster than the factory McLaren driver. And he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.